Okay, so welcome everyone to today's discussion, and we will be discussing birth order and how it affects a child's behavior. And the reason why we're doing this is to give you some sort of understanding of why your children do certain things and how you can change that. How you can change that, and turn every negative behavior into a positive behavior. All right. So the knowledge of how birth order affects your children is going to help you to guide them to navigate through, their behavioral problems and turn it into something more positive. Please let me know if you can hear me and if I am visible on your screen also. Thank you. Thank you. So, what is birth order? It's just the position in which a child, a human being, is born into the family. So there's the first, there's the second, third, fourth, and just count them. But for the sake of this discussion, we are going to discuss. We're going to discuss mainly the only child, the first child, the middle child, and it doesn't matter how many children you have in between or before the last one, in between the first and the last child. Okay. So any child, even if they are three, four, five, as much as you have in between the first and the last, they're all your middle children. Okay. And when we say the middle child, then it applies to them. So at the end of this discussion, you will understand birth order, you understand its effect on behavior and how you can and what you can do to change the negatives into make it become positive behavior. That's your advantage as a parent and to the advantage of the child's emotional health, growth, and every other thing. So before we go ahead, I'd like to emphasize that there are two basic emotional needs that we are considering in this lecture. And as a matter of fact, those two needs applies to children, adults, as long as you're a human being. And the first of it is significance. And to a child, what does significance mean? It just means I am capable, I'm able to do something, and I make a difference in the family, to which I belong. I contribute also in meaningful ways to my family, of belonging, and I have personal power also, meaning that I have authority, I have personal power, I can take decisions, and the second need is the need of belonging. And to a child, it feels like I am accepted, I am recognized, I belong here, I matter here, I feel wanted and accepted here. So just think of the two things. And having laid this foundation, and there's a full video to this, you can make reference to the video on the significance and belonging, as it applies to how the child wants to feel in a family constellation. Now, let's first consider the only child. Imagine this child. It has no care, no worries, because he's the center of attention. He's the spotlight of his parents. He revolves, everything in the family revolves around him because he's an only child. So just think about someone in your, or it may have been you who is an only child. Think about all the attention you got from your parents, from relatives, and every other person in your environment of growth. So they have, the only child has a great sense of belonging because everybody makes them feel very, accepted, wanted, loved. But we can't really say it when it comes to feeling significant. Don't forget a child's definition of significance. I am capable. So in capability, it means that they take a certain, sense of, they have a sense of responsibility. But for only children, you see, everybody in the family tries to do everything for the only child. And when this happens, they take away the sense of power, they take away the sense of capability from the child. So, yes, the child feels a sense of belonging, but may not necessarily feel significant in the family constellation. And that is, it is general, but there are still exceptions. And the exceptions are in cases where the parents understand this and then they allow the children to take certain responsibilities in order to gain their significance. If you have any question, please put it in the comment section and we will get back to it in due time. Okay, let's consider the first child in a case where this is not an only child, but the first child. The first child is like a rock, is like a foundation, it's like the throne of responsibilities. A lot of responsibilities is given to the only child. They grow up, the moment the younger ones come in, they become the caregivers in any little way, in any form. It could be to a large capacity or to a little form, whatever form it is. They become carers for the siblings. They become very helpful and very dutiful at home. So when it's like this, you see that they feel that initial sense of belonging that they had as the only child. It's now transformed, or it grows into a much higher sense of belonging because there's also a proper match of the sense of significance, having to go around the home, carry out tasks, and take care of a lot of responsibilities. Okay, so they assume these caregiving roles as the first children. What about the middle child? You can see, obviously, this guy is thinking about a whole lot. He's in the observing mood. Like, how do I fit in? Where do I go to? Because he's the middle child, meaning there's also the last child, right? There's also the last child. So he's thinking, he's confused. Where do I go to? He's thinking, where do I belong to? What is my role? What is my significance here? Am I even significant? Do they see me? So if you would consider yourself, if you are a middle child, think about your growth. Think about how it was for you while you were growing up. Just consider so many things. Like, were you struggling to get things done? Were you struggling for attention? Because here, the first person is capable, right? The first child is capable. So there's maybe your parents may have turned to the first child to take up certain roles because they trust the child. They've seen the child do it over and over, so they trust in their sense of responsibility. But you're there. They're not really sure, and you are not even sure. So that is transferred to you, right? And then there's also the last child. There's also the last child who has the attention of everybody. Remember, they're the babies of the house and everything. So yeah, the middle child is confused, like most of the time, thinking, like, again, I said these are general rules, but they could be exceptions if the parents are also well aware, consciously or unconsciously, of what is happening. Okay, so the next that we would be looking at is the prime of ballerina, the last child, the cherished babies. The the babies that everybody, is dotting, everybody, just wants them. They're so cute, they're so lovely, they're always asking for to be noticed everywhere, right? The aunties, the uncles, parents, and everybody, these children just get all the attention. Okay, so they have a high sense of belonging because they are the youngest. Okay, and there's also the tendency to have a low significance. Okay, because they always have people who come, to their rescue. There's always the rescuer. The first can rescue, the second may step into rescue, the parents will rescue. So their significance is shaky, because of the amount of help that they have around them. Okay, so all of this is not fixed, and it's not an absolute, but in a greater percentage of families, operations, and everything, this really plays significant roles, and it goes into adulthood. So birth order, it impacts in a general term. And for changes to be made, for you to be able to navigate through helping your child to really have the sense of belonging and the sense of significance in your family, then that is significantly shaped by your response as a parent towards your children. And don't forget that because of these birth positions, you may tend towards a certain child, maybe because of their abilities, they're able to, carry out tasks without your involvement. And when it happens that way, the other children may interpret it as though you favor the other ones more than you favor them. And don't forget that children are very good observers, yet they are poor interpreters. So children will observe what you've done, will observe how things are running in the family, but what they don't understand is the interpretation to it. So they wouldn't know if you're doing this because the other person is perfect or more capable at handling that task. They wouldn't know if you keep calling on one person because someone else is cranky and crying and putting up all the behavior, but this other person is very dependable. They don't understand that you need things to be done. They don't understand why you're always tagging on this other child when you're stepping out, right? Maybe because of their behavior or the way they render help to you. They wouldn't understand it because they are unable to put the right interpretation. So remember, children are very good observers but poor interpreters. Now when this happens, your children are going to feel a certain way, and that will be them feeling that you are, there's a preferred child. Okay, so I love what Alfred Adler said. He said the dangers of favoritism can hardly be stated too dramatically. And almost every discouragement in childhood springs from the feeling that someone else is preferred. So, because they are poor interpreters, they always look at the person who you give more attention to as the preferred. But you and I know that that may not be true. So, do you see how their behavior may be affected if they feel like you're preferring another child or other children to them? Okay, so having laid this foundation, at this point, I want to bring in our very dear coach Nwajito to the stage to do justice to this discussion, while you can put up your questions and we will definitely attend to you. Coach Nwajito, over to you.
Thank you so much. That was a wonderful one, Coach OM, I must say. And I love how you, as in how you took it and brought it all the way nicely to where you landed us. It's it's so true that our children actually do not know how to interpret. At that age, it is our duty to communicate and then be certain of the interpretation that they get from the communication that we give. Communication, not only verbally, but even in our behavior and the things that we do. It is our duty to ensure that what was interpreted from what was done or said should be the right thing. And per time, we really do not know what their interpretation is from whatever age, whatever level. As young as they are, as old as they are, we really cannot tell what they are interpreting. I usually love this illustration that I use, and it's a true life story of a mother who had two children. And then these two children, the older one was the older one wasn't doing so well academically. The younger one was doing fine academically. So she needed to get a lesson teacher as an academic help for the older one. So she did hire a teacher to take the older one in some subjects. The younger one didn't need it. So, I mean, there was no need to get her any. And life went on as usual. Then, just for her to be passing by their room one day, their bedroom one day, and guess what? They said she could hear her children speaking, the girls talking, and they were deliberating as to who would go ask something from mom, as in they wanted something, and they were saying, okay, you go ask mom. Go ask mom, you know you are the favorite one, she will give it to you. This was the younger one speaking to the older one. Go and ask mom. You know you are her favorite. She will give it to you. He said, no, no, no. You can ask her. You can ask her. I don't want her to say no to me. And she couldn't help herself. She had to walk into the room and say, sorry, what was that people were saying? When you say favorite one, how do you mean? I love all of you equally. What's the favoritism in that? And she had to sit the younger one to really inquire what was going through her mind. Why did she assume that the older one was her favorite? And she said, yes, that for everything, she is always getting all the attention. That just yesterday or just last week, you hired a teacher for her, you didn't hire any for me. The mother had to explain to her that no, that's not exactly what happened. Your sister is not doing so well academically. She needs help academically. So I got her the help that she needed. You are doing fine. You don't need one. But if you need one, we will get you one. So, how they were interpreting the actions that were done. And there were several other points that the younger sister highlighted, which actually backed her point so well, confirming that really the older sister is mom's favorite. But that was totally off it. There was nothing like that in relation to everything that the mother has been doing so far. So the mother had to debunk all the ideas and all the beliefs that they both had as to the mother having a favorite. So it is our duty actually to from time to time check in as to how they are interpreting the certain things that we are doing around them. And I love the various attributes that Coach Uwem was able to highlight as she spoke about the birth positions of each child and as she brought them in. I can imagine for every one of us parents, when you have the first child, we would say that the first child is like the guinea pig. We're testing our parenting skills. And then for the mistakes we make, we try to correct it when we get to the second one and ensure that either I did this, so this child was too clingy, so I need to push this other child away. Instead of carrying too long, let's not carry for so long. The first one was carried for long, and then we feel that that is why the child was clingy. So for this second one, no, I'm not going to carry too much. I will push him away. Send them to their room. They should be in their room. They should sleep on their bed. No co-sleeping. No this, no that. We have seen all the loopholes and all the mistakes we made with the first one. Oh, this second one, we are not going to try any mistake. We're going to ensure that we are doing things properly and the way they are meant to be. Meanwhile, we do not know that some of those things that we decide to do, it actually might have an adverse effect on that child. The second child is used to hand-me-downs. You find that after the first one gets everything new, all the toys, all the shoes, all the clothes, if it's school shoes, school bag, lunch bag, everything is so brand new. But when it comes to the second one, that one is using the clothes the first one used, is using the shoes the first one used, the toys the first one used, even to school books that the first one used. We're not buying it. Then when it gets to the third one, somehow those clothes become worn out. Those shoes become worn out. And then we say, okay. We're going to buy a new set of things for the third one. So you find out that the second one didn't get anything new per se, except if God blesses the second one and then the gender is different from the first one. Sometimes say, hey, it's unisex, they can wear it. Wow, it's amazing when we look at these things in detail. And I say thank you so much, Coach Uwem, for that detailed sharing that you did. It's a very lovely one. I love it. So I'm just going to be sharing one slide that I have that captures many of the things that I put together, and it's just to capture many of the things that I hope I'm sharing right. I don't know if it's there to share, but if it's not, then I'm just gonna flow. Oh, nice. Thanks. Okay. So this basically captured most of what Coach OM spoke about. So for every birth position, there are pros and there are cons. And what we are actually looking at and emphasizing is to show how it affects behavior. So when your child has this tendency, or when your child behaves in a certain way, it is our duty as parents to know why, understand why, be aware. That's why we're having these conversations, so that we can bring it to our notice. Let's not be ignorant of it. Even us, as parents, if you are the last born, you know what the characteristics that you depict. As the first child, you know what you are still going through currently as the first child. You are still going through it right now. Then in some climes, the first male child. In some other climes, the first female child. So every positioning of every birth actually has things that are significant to them. But we're just going to be picking this one because it is well rounded, and then everyone has this, and we can understand it better. But you want to even look at even twins. Even when you have twins, when you have triplets, you can't carry all three of them at the same time. You can't nurture all three of them at the same time. They have certain behaviors that are significant to them. But we're just going to be capturing this four basic ones. And I love that Coach Uwem was able to state that there are exceptions to the rules. These are just a system where most of them fit into, but there are definitely exceptions to the rules. So I want us to think, if you are a first child, or you can think of your first child as your sibling, whether it's a brother or a sister, but think of that first one. You find out that they have the tendency of being if it's a female, a mother hen, a male being even if it's female or male, they are always protector, always the guide, always the shield, always the one. And then we catch ourselves to as parents saying to the oldest one, don't you know you're older? Don't you know that you're meant to be doing this as the senior one, as the older one? Don't we say these certain things to them, and it is telling them what is expected of them. We are grinding it into their brain. We are beginning to program their minds and fashion it along these lines. So it is the things we say, the things we do that makes these things ingrained in these children. It wires them and then they begin to form their life around it. Don't you know you are the older one? Don't you know you are the first one? Don't you know they are looking up to you? Don't you know that whatever it is you do, this rest will follow? Don't you know that you are the one setting the pace for these ones to follow? You see, these languages that we speak actually makes them have a sense of responsibility. Like Coach Owen said, they suddenly become, that's why I tag them, they are the trailblazers. They are the ones who must set the pace. They are the pace setters. So they have this pressure upon them, this immense pressure to get it right. I must get it right. I must be perfect in the eyes of my parents, in the eyes of the society, and in the eyesight of my younger ones. I must set the pace. So they want to be the best at everything. They want to be the best in everything. Think it from character to academics to spirituality to anything that will make them set the pace. They want to be there. So they are pros, they are often responsible, they are natural leaders, they are high achievers is a given. Just look at most firstborns, that is how they are. But then the downside to this is that they may feel an immense pressure to achieve or to hit this what's it called? This expectation, whether set by the parents or even set by them they themselves, but they have this pressure to just achieve. So most times they're perfectionists. Most times they feel this sense of, oh, I must set an example. Yeah, that is it. I must set an example. That is how they feel that they must keep doing these things. And they keep trying so hard to be perfect in the sight of anybody. So when they are perfect and they are doing things so well, they want to be applauded. And can you imagine this kind of pressure where you are constantly going around to just get it right? You are living for others and not necessarily yourself because you are trying to hit certain expectations. So they excel at certain examples. They want to be the example. Oh, be like your older sister, be like your older brother. Oh, well done, you are doing this thing right. Oh, your younger ones will follow right. Thanks for setting the pace. So, positive parenting, meaning for parents that are now aware that this happens to them, you want to recognize this child's perfectionist tendencies, identify it, recognize it, then help them and encourage them to take on leadership roles. But the key thing about firstborns is that we want to let them know that it's okay to make mistakes. It's okay not to be at par. It's okay to take things in your own strides. It's okay. So because they want to be perfect, failure is not their friend. They are not friends with failure. So you want to educate this child that failure is simply feedback. Failure is just another way to see that, oh, this doesn't work. Let's try something else. Failure should be our friend and not necessarily something that we want to run away from. So let them notice that it's okay to fail, and then we're able to calm them down to take things in their own strides. And guess what? The outcome of us doing that as for positive parenting is that this child will grow up and they could become successful managers in leadership roles. They will be very organized, they will be very reliable, They will not be afraid of challenges. Why? Because you've told them it's okay to fail. And they failed several times along life's journey, and they've been able to get up again and try again. So they are not afraid to face challenges and to come before challenges on their life journey, and they will be able to embrace personal growth. So now take note, when I say negative parenting, it means parents that are not aware of this and do not bring it to the light to help their children deal with it as they grow. So for negative parenting, we will just want to ignore the child's perfectionist tendencies, and then we're not going to provide emotional support for that child. We'll just let them keep doing what it is that they do. Yeah, they should live their life anyhow they want to. We see them going through that pressure, we'll say, yes, you should go through that pressure. You are the first. After all, I'm the first one. I went through that pressure. But how is it for you going through that pressure? So when we ignore these signs, you find out that these children, excuse me, the child will grow up and will face an immense stress and anxiety. They will be so stressed, they will be very anxious, they will struggle with work-life balance because they are trying to pursue perfection. Guess what? Perfection is a myth. There cannot be perfection in this side of life. In this side of life, perfection does not exist. It does not exist on this side of life. So if someone is constantly struggling to be perfect, the person will just continue in this rat race because you cannot obtain it. Progress, yes. Excellence, probably. But perfection is totally out of our reach. So we want to teach this child so that this child doesn't grow up and become very anxious, become stressed constantly, and keep struggling and on this rat race back and forth in life. What we want to do is to give emotional support to this child and educate firstborns. Let them know, and any other child that might depict these tendencies, let them know, educate them that it is okay. It is okay to make mistakes. It is okay to take things in your strides. Be your own competitor. You are not competing with anybody else. You want to daily be better than you were yesterday, not better than Mr. A or Mrs. B or your colleagues or your siblings or your cousins. No, you want to be better than yourself yesterday. So that should be what they should be striving for on a daily basis. So we'll first move to the second born child. Now, second born and the middle child, when we get to the positive parenting or the negative parenting, they are actually the same thing for both, right? But then you just find out that if there is a major second child amongst 9 children, like yours truly, then you find out that this second born child, I refer to them as the sidekick. And you know what a sidekick actually is, right? A sidekick most times doesn't have their own identity, sort of. A sidekick is just following the leader, right? You follow the major star. Like we had Batman and Robin. Robin is simply doing the biddings of Batman. So that's what a second born child usually is. So the pros is that they're usually great team players. You say we should go and scatter the room. Let's go and scatter the room. So whatever it is you say we should do, they are going to run to go do it. They are competitive and they are very social. And this is true from most second borns, just running through my mind that I can actually see. Then for the cons, the downside to this is they may experience rivalry with the firstborn most times. So there is that battle and that power tussle most of the time. But they thrive in collaboration. So we want to emphasize their role as a second born. We want to let them know that they are a valuable part of the family at all times. Then let's fast move to the middle child. We're going to be taking both of them together. Just like Coach UM suggested, saying that, he said, looking at the child, in fact, that picture is just ingrained in my brain. I say, where What am I just doing here? Please tell me, why am I here? Why on earth am I here? So that child really does not know why the child is here, because firstborn is running all the errands and running the show. The last has all the attention. So me, what am I? What am I? I just came for what, for show. I just came to watch both of them do the things that they are doing. So you find out that most middle children, the good part of them, I call them the mediator. They are excellent peacemakers. The middle children are excellent peacemakers, and they are adaptable. They are adaptable and they are good at compromise. They are adaptable when they know what they should be adapting to. So when they are able to identify what they should be adapting to, then they adapt immediately. The downside, they struggle with identity. They don't know who they are. I'm not seen, I'm not heard. Why am I here? What am I doing here? They might seem cut across to be the most confused ones. So they are great at diffusing conflict, yes. They are great peacemakers. They are good at compromising. They could adapt very, very quickly, but they struggle with identity and they feel overlooked all the time. Remember the illustration I gave at the beginning of the middle child getting all the hand-me-downs, and then the last child gets everything new? Exactly. So that child really, from everything that is done, the clothes that they wore them at birth, even when the child, when the firstborn, well, I don't know if this is true about everybody, but from my own experience, after putting to bed the first child, it was as if the whole community came to celebrate. Hey! But then when the second one came, it was as if, okay, child two is here. So I think, okay. And I'm like, no gifts, nobody running around. What's happening? What's going on? But then you find out that that child from then is beginning to receive several messages from the energy around him, from the energy that the child is getting around the child. So you find out that they feel really overlooked from everything that we're doing, and we don't mean it badly, we don't mean it in a bad way. I mean, why should I go buy a new walker, a new car seat, a new high chair, a new, when they are all right there in the house? Simply use them to, instead of going out to go buy everything afresh. But these things are saying, they are passing the message across to that child. The child is beginning to get the message that, oh, you are not exactly so special. There's nothing so special about you. So for parents, what do we do? How do we help these children that are born in the middle category? We want to celebrate the child's unique qualities. Every child comes with his own unique package. You want to identify what it is and celebrate that child, because that child feels overlooked. So you want to make it a point of duty. Make it a point of duty to ensure that this child is being celebrated per time. Then you want to provide opportunities for this child to express themselves. So applaud these qualities that you see in the child, and then provide opportunities for this child to also express themselves, so that they are not just clinging to the first or clinging to the last and not finding their own self and expressing themselves. So they are running this way, running that way. What of them expressing themselves? So the firstborn comes with something that they want to do. Oh, let's do it together. They run along. The last born needs to be taken care of or needs something done for them, they run to go help. Then, what do they want to really do? What is that thing that you really want to do? So you want to help provide opportunities for this child to unleash and express their essence. Let them express that unique values and qualities that they have within them. Then make the child feel valued for his adaptability and peacemaking skills. This is you emphasizing and embracing these wonderful qualities that this child has. When we're able to do this, what will happen for this child is that this child will become successful, could become a successful mediator and negotiator in his or her professional life, because the child has been doing it since. The firstborn is parrying, it's able to calm the firstborn down. The lastborn is throwing tantrums, it's able to calm that one down. Parents are doing it, he's able to calm that one down. And this is very true for most middle children. I can just going through my head right now. I can really tell that from the ones that I've come across, that yes, that it is true. Then this child would also feel very confident and will be appreciated for his or her ability to bring people together. Then this child also will be able to identify who they are for themselves and not just running back and forth by every wind that blows. Moved by peer pressure when they become adolescents, moved by social media and every wind that blows when they are young adults or even older. But they know themselves, they know who they are, and they stand for who they are and what they believe in. So when we choose as parents to ignore these things or ignore the fact that the middle child feels overlooked and has no sense of identity, when we choose to ignore it, we don't acknowledge the child's individuality, the child will feel lost, as in totally lost. Why am I here? They'll get tired and just say, see, just leave me. I just want to be here. Let me think about my life. Then the outcome of this child will be that this child will struggle with identity issues. This child will, as an adult, make it will be challenging for him or her to establish their own path and to find a place in the world. Because right from time, they never had a chance to express who they are, to unleash all that they have within them. They never had the opportunity to do that. So you find out that they are, when they are older, they're like, "Ah, that thing that they call a midlife crisis." That thing. Even though everybody kind of like experience it from at one point in time in their life, but for this middle child, it's as though they're experiencing it over and over and over again until they stop at some point to break the cycle, until they stop at some point to embrace who they really are within them. So let's provide an opportunity and a platform for those ones to be able to showcase who they really are. And then for the last bonds, I call them the entertainer. Everyone seems to like them, even though there are some last bonds who become, in quotes, the slaves, because everyone, depending on the age of that last born and the age of the older ones before them, because everyone will send them on errands over and over and over again. But then these last bonds, the pros of these last bonds, that they are creative and they are charming and very outgoing. Think of most of the last ones you know. They are really very charming, they are creative and very outgoing. The downside to it is that they could be seen as spoiled and they might be seeking attention. Too much attention. They might be attention seekers. Yeah. Spoiled, just like Coach Joyful Uwem said, everybody's coming to save them. Everybody is coming to save their life. You know, when a child gets to like age 5 or 6 and cannot operate the remote control, this is a true life, true life event. Cannot operate a remote control. That shows you that that remote control, it's either it has never gotten the hands of that child because the older ones keep passing it among themselves, or they are quick to help the child put it on. They are quick to help that child turn it on, turn it on, turn it on. Now, that child at the end of the day doesn't know how to put on the TV, doesn't know how to light the gas, even when the child is old enough, because everybody is doing everything for that child and is meant from a good place. You know, everything we're talking about, they are all from good places. No, nobody, this is not speaking to the fact that we woke up and decided that we're going to put pressure on the firstborn. We woke up and decided that we're going to overlook the middle child. We woke up and decided that we're going to spoil to stupor the last child. No, nobody woke up and then that was the intention. We woke up and the firstborn, we decided that, oh, let's show you the way to go. This is the path that you should go. You should study hard. You should be perfect. You should behave right. You should. Then when it gets to the second child, we kind of like water things down, sort of. We expect that that child should know by the inspiration of the Almighty what that child should be doing. Because we spent time instilling these things in the first child. But the second child, if we look closely, most times we don't instill it as much as we instilled it in the first one. So it's either we made a mistake with the first one and didn't instill those things, and for the second one, we decided we're going to instill it in the second one and in the first one, all of them together. Or we instilled it in the first one, went all out, and must get this parenting thing right. And then for the subsequent children, we water things down and we don't pass things down the way they are meant to be passed down. So everything is actually from a good place. Nobody wakes up and decides that they're going to do these things to their children. So it's out of the love for the child that we train the firstborn to be all that they are, the middle child to be all that they are, and the last child to be all that they are. But for the last born now, you find out that they grow up and they are spoiled. They might seek a lot of attention. So for positive parenting, as parents, what we want to do for this child is to, because they are very creative, you want to engage in creative activities. Engage them in creative activities. So think of them and engage them in it. Then you want to also set clear boundaries when necessary. Set clear boundaries when necessary. You want to remind yourself, for the first child or for the other children, would this be acceptable? So why would I accept it for this last one? No, no snacks. No snacks when it's nighttime. After dinner, no snacks. But mommy, I really want a snack. Okay, okay, you can have one. But if the other children wouldn't let it slide, so why do we let it slide for the last one? So yes, that last one might be the baby of the house, might be your loved one, the cherished one. But what we want to do is to ensure that things that we have set in place on how the household should run should also apply to this last one. So ensure that you are setting clear boundaries when necessary. Then you want to encourage this child to shine, but also learn responsibility. That child should learn. I remember my mom always saying to us, you people want to spoil these children for. Remember I stated here that they were nine. We're nine of us. So, but then I remember my mom saying to us that you people want to spoil this child for me, referring to the last child. And then I wondered what she meant by that. How are we spoiling the child? What did we do that is spoiling the child? You just find out that everybody's sending this child money. Everybody just send the child money. He's in school, he needs money. You just remember, oh, you will send. This one remember send. This one remember send. Can you imagine when 8 people send somebody money? Can you imagine that child will become richer than the rest of us that are also in school or just trying to make ends meet, sort of. But because we've all joined our collective efforts, this child is now feeling very, very wealthy in school. Momsy found out and was like, why? Why are we doing all of that? I said, no, that's not right. That should not be done. That any money we want to give to this child, we should send it to her. She knows how much that child needs per time. So she will send the amount of money that the child needs per time. What was she trying to do there? To instill boundaries. She was trying to still enforce her rules and enforce the boundaries that she had created and ensure that this child, let's not go and spoil the child for her that she has been trying to build by herself. So with that, something that we want to learn to do for this child, and they should be responsible. We can't give chores to everybody in the home, and then the last child, as long as that child is not a baby, that child is old enough, should have chores that they do. From age 2, they should have chores. Age 2 should be able to pick after themselves. Toys should know to pack their toys when they are done. From age 3, you increase it and you keep increasing it as a child goes on. A 5-year-old, 6-year-old, 7 years should be able to do dishes. So, yes, they might not get it so well at the end of the day, but they should know how it should be done. So you want to ensure that that child is responsible and not everybody doing everything for the child. So encourage the child to shine, but also let that child be responsible. When we do this for this child, what will happen at the end of the day for this child is that this child, jobs that this child could possibly do, is that this child will become a creative artist and performer at the end of the day. But above all, this child will know how to capture the spotlight because of their charming personality, but will also be successful at it because this child is responsible. This child learned how to be responsible. So they will not only just capture the spotlight and become useless at the end of the day, but they capture it, they're able to sustain it because they learned to be responsible. But if we choose to ignore the signs of the last born, the signs that we see in our last born child, if we allow the child to keep seeking attention without setting boundaries, this will lead to this child being very entitled. You know, the entitlement mentality. Good. And this child will have the inability to handle criticism because this child has been applauded, has been celebrated. This child is being, our egg, being carried and pampered and all. Everything the child does is right. Wow, let's celebrate this child. That's what we have been doing so far for this child. But we never sat that child once to tell the child the truth. We never sat down once to criticize nicely what the child has done that is wrong. So you find out that when this child is older, this child cannot handle criticism. So the outcome, this child will face challenges in relationships and career due to this attention seeking behavior. This child will always be seeking validation. Did I do it right? How do I do it so it is right? How do I? Because the world in itself is not applauding everybody. The world does not just applaud you because you did what you coughed, then because you cracked a dry joke. That's not how the world is. The world tells you the truth upfront, especially in this day and this world where we have the cancel mentality. We just cancel you upfront. So something that we want to do is to ensure that we teach our last born child to be responsible and they should be able to handle criticism, handle it right so that they are not, they should be able to handle criticism so that they will not, when they face it in life, they will know how to really handle it and face these things. So for us parents, somebody would say, so are they stuck in this way? Is this it? So this is how they will be forever, or this is how everything is. The truth is things could be changed. Like Coach OM said, we could change things, just like we've been sharing so far. So for your firstborn child, you want to sit with your child and then let your child know when you see and you catch yourself saying, don't you know you should be, catch yourself. That child is first a child. That child is first a child. Yes, the younger ones are watching and the younger ones will do as they do, right? That's very true of whoever is around the child. But then also, as parents, we are also examples. So the other children too are watching us and they're learning from us, not just necessarily the firstborn child. So even though we need them to step up and be the trailblazer, let's try to reduce the pressure that they carry. Try as much as possible to reduce the pressure that they carry. For the middle child, you want to recognize that they exist. Recognize they exist. Do you even know the unique characteristics of your middle child? Do you know the essence that this child brings? What essence? What's that spontaneous, spectacular thing that your middle child has? It's time for you to open space, give that child a platform to shine. And for your last child, you want to ensure that that child is as responsible as possible. The child does something wrong, you want to sit the child down and teach the child right. You want to criticize sometimes the things that the child has done nicely and watch the child handle criticism. Then you know where you are going to step in next so that you can teach what this child needs to know. So, as parents, when you communicate, ensure that it is being heard and it is being understood nicely. So, you don't want to just speak to the child and do things around the child without recognizing how they are interpreting what they are interpreting. Every child is unique, and it's our job as parents to ensure that every child is receiving what they are receiving the way they are meant to receive it. So if there are any questions, let's get questions from where? Sorry, let me check the chat in case there's any. Okay, that's noted. So as parents, it is just our duty to ensure that we're helping our children become better. That's the major role that we have as parents. We want to help to influence our children and not leave them stuck up. Every personality is different. Everyone's personality is different, but some of the things that we do also influences their personalities. But we want to ensure that the things that we are doing per time is helping to build our children and not pulling them down. So you want to be vigilant, you want to be aware of the things that our children are going through and be able to help them at every point in time. So, parents, you want to practice active listening, you want to spend quality time with our children. I remember the last session I had with Coach Uwem, we spoke about quality time and what it really was for each child. So it is not just about spending family time. No, it's not just about spending what's it called? Yes, not it's not community time with the child. It is individually spending time with each child, ensuring that they feel loved and they feel heard per time. So active listening, when we speak about active listening, it is about what the child says and what the child doesn't say. It speaks to body language, it speaks to tonality of voice. You want to be able to catch all these things per time. So you also want to be consistent in your support to that child. Be consistent. Okay? Don't just today you are supportive, tomorrow you are not. You want to be consistent in supporting each child. Then practice open communication so that your children can come to you to say the things that they want to say and say the way they feel. You know, when you have a child say to you that she wants to know why. Why does my brother get bigger food than my own? This talking about her older brother, this true life. And you're like, can you finish this food? This food I even gave yourself, you can't finish it. Why are you asking for more? And you just want to shush the child. But no, it's a genuine question. Because that child has just felt, I'm not seen, I'm not heard. You're treating me as if, why can't I have the same quantity of food that this other person is having? Why is mine smaller than this other person's own? So you want to ensure that they can come to you to say whatever it is they want to say, expressing exactly how they feel at every point in time. So when we are able to do this, yes, we'll be able to help the children break from this streak that they have. Because when you practice open communication, your child can come to you to say, this is how I feel. I feel too pressured. I feel stressed. I feel it's a large burden on my shoulders to carry trying to be the perfect person. It's difficult alone to ensure that my ties are knotted properly or my shirt is buttoned right. I'm doing that, then I'm trying to take care of this person. I'm trying to take care of that. It's too much work for me to do. When we have that kind of open communication, you will realize that your firstborn child might be carrying a lot of load because that child is trying to take care of themselves, and yet that child is looking after the younger ones. Yet that child is the one who's going to be in the kitchen too. That child is the one who's going to ensure that every rule in the home is kept. That child is the one who's going to ensure that they are protected. That child, come on now, that's too much load for a child to be carrying. So you want to take off some burden off that child. So recognize that that child is doing a lot. And then you want to help that child. Tell that child, take things in your stride. See, make mistakes. It would be wonderful if you can even catch you making mistakes. And then we learn from mistakes. Yep, and I think we have done justice to that or to this topic. We've been here for an hour. Well, I am Coach Joyful has been here for more than that. So if there are no questions, I hope that this has been able to do us good. Coach Joyful is somewhere in the background. Do you want to come up and say goodbye? But if you are not going to come up, this is where we're going to be ending it. So as parents, now you are aware, and now we're going to be practicing positive parenting. So we want to ensure, try as much as possible. Parenting is time. Parenting is time, parenting is patience, parenting is love. So you want to try as much as possible. We all want to try as much as possible to ensure that we are giving the best that we can to each child that we have, not just to all your children at once, but each child should feel loved, should feel supported, should feel cared for. Each child should feel like they are your best child. Do you know how it feels when all your children could feel like mommy loves me best, daddy loves me best? It's amazing. It means you are doing a very good job. So that's the point where we want to get to. That's the place where we are striving to get to. So thank you so much for spending time with us. If you're catching on the replay, thank you for watching the replay to this point. If you have any questions, just drop it in the chat box and we will answer you later in time when you put it on the chat box. But for now, I do not see any questions, so I'm going to be rounding up this session. Thank you so much for your time and God bless you. We'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.